France 24's international affairs commentator Doug Herbert joins me for more now on this situation in Israel. And Doug, it really does seem almost like Groundhog Day there again with this election.
Yeah, look, these results are a little bit pre-baked into Israeli reality and Israel's political system. The reality of a country that has become more and more polarized, lurching more and more to the right as well in the past few years, but also a political system, a parliamentary system which is proportional, which basically allows very small parties with relatively few votes to get seats in parliament. And the result of that is that larger parties such as the Likud party of Benjamin Netanyahu, are unable on their own to really get a majority of the 61 seat majority they would need in the parliament unless they form dangerous liaisons, if you will, with parties that they often really don't agree with. Now, in Benjamin Netanyahu's case, and this is a big if right now, if he were able to pull it off again, another one of these hat tricks, and cobble together a coalition against all odds, a shaky, tenuous coalition such as the one we've seen in the past, it would be the most conservative government in Israel's history. It would be a coalition that includes not just ultra-Orthodox Jewish party, ultra-nationalist groups, but parties that are out on the record as being anti-gay, homophobic parties, extreme pro-settler parties, and also parties that are in favor of expelling Arab Israeli citizens who may appear to be disloyal or critical of the Israeli government. So it would be an extremely far-right government to the right of Netanyahu himself and his Likud party, and that is because of the nature of the system. In order to stay in power, he would have to do these Faustian deals, so to speak, with parties that are to the right of his own in a society which itself is lurched to the right. And that's also a product of the fact that so much in Israeli politics, as we know, is this election is about Netanyahu. Are you with him? Are you against him? Are you sort of on the sidelines waiting to see how you could play it both ways, depending on where the winds are blowing? It's all about him. It's a cult of personality election, if you will.
Doug, what about the left, though? Is there any way that it could possibly put together a viable coalition?
The left is a diverse coalition. It's in disarray, and I mean disarray in the sense that on its own it doesn't look like it has the goods to put together the pure left, a real coalition. I mean, the Labour Party, Meretz Party on the left are really years away, perhaps, from being able to viably form a stable governing coalition. They would have to, as it right now, when you talk of the opposition, Jeannie, right now you're talking about not just the left, you're talking about the opposition's far-right parties, it's leftist parties, it's also parties of Arab alliance. The Arab list candidates in this election were also on two separate lists. One is more an Arab party in the Islamic mold, UAL party, and then there's the Arab joint list. So the Arab candidates were split among themselves. So the opposition is really fragmented. It's far from monolithic. It's an extremely tall order for this opposition to come together and to be able to cobble together those 61 seats. It would be easier, in a sense, perhaps, for Netanyahu to get to the 61. But like I said, that involves those Faustian deals with with parties that are unsavory to a lot of Israelis, to say the least.
So, Doug, let's say Netanyahu were to return to power. It's not going to be smooth sailing for him. He's facing trial on corruption charges.
Yes, but if Netanyahu has it the way he wants, he will be able to avoid a trial if he stays in power. I say that not out of my own opinion. This is what Netanyahu hopes to do. He is on the record as saying this. He would like to derail the trial against him because he believes that the trial against him is a witch hunt, is politically motivated. Sure, I know that sounds like Donald Trump, but in a sense, Donald Trump took his playbook from Benjamin Netanyahu, not the other way around. They see these traditional systems as pitched against them. They see it as a politically motivated left that is trying to humiliate them and bring them down. He wants nothing to do with this judiciary. He is proposing sweeping reforms of it. So you will see that if he stays in power, at least attempts at those types of judicial reforms. And also, I suspect, further sort of a stifling, not explicitly, but more implicitly, a stifling of sort of free expression. He's been very angry at journalists who've written against him, and some people say that this represents an attack on the free press, something, of course, that Benjamin Netanyahu would vehemently take issue with. But we do see definitely, if he stays in power, the most conservative government to date that we've seen in modern Israeli history.
Doug, thank you for that. France 24's Doug Herbert.